I don't know what kind of drugs Hokazono has taken to produce these chapters and these characters and these arcs, but it's working. Sojo, Kiora, Yura, Hirohiku, and now Samura. So, with that being said, let's talk about it.
Sometimes you gotta close the door to open a window.
Before we go any further, I just want to say, if you haven't already, consider liking and subscribing for more Kagurabachi content, and if you're really vibing with these videos, consider supporting me on Patreon, as it helps take me to these truly higher quality heights. Anyways, this chapter opens up with a good old-fashioned flashback, exactly 7 minutes before Hiro came into the possession of the Kumayori blade. Now, I want to draw your attention to that flashback exactly of 7 minutes here, because we've seen stuff like this before from Hokazono. Right at the pinnacle of the Sojo vs. the Kamunabi, Hokazono showed what happened mere moments earlier before his fight with Chihiro, and then the following fight with Chihiro only took a mere 12 seconds to sort out. So, to have ourselves a 7-minute flashback, it may as well be Hokazono giving us a massive neon sign telling us, buckle the fuck up, because things are about to get real fast here. And they really do. They really get fast, because we see the gang at Senkotsuji Temple talking about the aftermath of Samura's display with the Tobimune blade, basically rejoicing for how Samura is now on their side. Spoiler alert, he's not. Now, Hakari finds himself sort of waking up. He kind of like blacks out almost here, and he wakes up realizing that Samura has knocked him and everyone else out. And he's talking with Uraha right now, but one detail here that is very, very clear is Samura has switched teams. He is gone, and he explains to Uraha how, even if they recover the blades, does that really solve anything? Mentioning how, if it was that simple, Rokuhiro would have done this ages ago, and he wouldn't have neither just locked them away after the war. Now, something I've always wondered about, and my curiosity grows, as does yours, I imagine, as the more chapters that we get of Kagurabachi is, and that curiosity is, what exactly is it that they did? What did the Swordbearers do? What were they fighting, and what did they do in that war for Samura to basically cut his own eyes out, and for a wielder of the Shinuchi to be sealed away? And the more that the story continues, the ever more clear it becomes that these Swordbearers, although they are treated like heroes, they do not see themselves as such, and they continue to harbor very, very strong ill will and very complex emotions about their actions in the past here. Case in point is Samura. Now, Samura goes on to talk about how he has not wielded the Tobimune in 18 years, and if he is to do it again in the name of Rokuhiro, he has to root out evil and protect the weak. Now, if this line sounds familiar to you, it should, because it's almost bar for bar what Chihiro told Sojo upon their first encounter. Chihiro's words were to defeat evil and to protect the weak always. Now, he says those words as we're shown Kunoshige Rokuhiro in that flashback. Now, that strongly parallels Samura's actions right now. He seeks to root out evil and protect the weak, and they are both doing it almost in admiration and basically in Kunoshige's name, in Kunoshige Rokuhiro's name here now. I believe Hokazono is sort of building up Samura as a futuristic parallel to Chihiro about what Chihiro will look like in the future, because Chihiro's actions, after all, have been just he's been constantly grappling with his actions and how he is perceived by those who he tries to save, and this theme was on sort of full display during his fight with Hirohiku. Now, Hokazono is drawing very, very strong parallels, but I'd like to make a separate theory video about that, because it's something that I've been thinking about now for a little minute. Also, by the way, if you like Kagurabachi and you like talking about Kagurabachi, consider joining the Discord in the link in the description there. We've got a Discord where we have all sorts of anime, manga, and comic books, and all sorts of good talks going on, so consider joining the Discord. But Samura continues by saying that there is an evil here far greater than the Hishaku that must be punished, even if it takes colluding with the Hishaku. And he's talking about the Swordbearers. Now, once again, referencing how 18 years ago we covered up what happened there. And as that line is spoken, we are shown the wielder of the Shinuchi. Now, we already know that this guy was evil. Just one look at what happened with Kiora and Rakuzaichi arc, we already know. But now it seems we're entering the sort of deep government level war crimes type of evil here. Like, it only drives the question harder. What on earth did these guys do? What were they fighting in the war here? Now, Samura continues and he mentions about how they were lauded as heroes and how people are risking their lives to protect them, but there's no real need to balance those two, and Samura vows that all 5 swordbearers, including himself, will die by his hand. This dude, he's on a mission. He's on a mission, and he's a very complex character, and I find myself in a troubled position of whether I dislike him or hate him for what happened, but also at the same time, I kind of get it. I kind of understand where he's coming from in a weird way. Now, Uruha tries to reason with Samura, mentioning how if he kills him now, the Hishaku will be able to use the Kumiori, and how they're the ones who killed Mr. Rokihira. Now, I mentioned in the previous video here about the last chapter about how I was suspicious of Samura and how his actions may have led to Rokihira's death, because Hirohiko mentions how they colluded, they entered into a binding pact basically 3 years ago. Now, I believe that he may have had some sort of implication in Rokihira's death. He may have been involved with it in some way, shape, or form. Now, I found it more interesting that during this chapter that Samura never really reacts in any way to the information that the Hishaku killed Rokihira. It's like he's completely unfazed by working with them, with the people who killed Rokihira, and it makes me wonder if it's like he put that past himself way back when, 3 years ago, when he decided to join them. And it makes me wonder if he's hiding that fact away from Uruha, because he, like, due to the way that Uruha treated Rokihira and how he loved him so much, it makes me wonder if Samura's hiding that from him. Even though he's turned tails and he's become a traitor, it's not unknown, it's not unlike him right now to hide like hidden details away from his friends and family here. But Samura also mentions how he'll only allow the Hishaku to wield the blade temporarily. And now I'll be honest with you, with how John Hishaku is moving recently, I do not believe for 1 second that he's not planned for this occurrence of Samura doing this, especially if my theory is true about him being involved in Rokihira's death. But yeah, this conversation between Samura and Uruha continues, with Uruha basically understanding Samura's intent here, but nonetheless, because people have died trying to protect him, he will not throw his life away. Now, I mentioned that in the last chapter and in the last video how Hokazono has been using his panels almost like the composition of a film itself. It's like watching the storyboard for a film unfold in real time. There isn't a single panel that is wasted. For example, Samura and Uruha's conversation is constantly switching between close panels of Samura's eyes and Uruha's eyes, as opposed to bigger and wider establishing shots of their faces as they both argue their points, to see the reactions and the intensity of the emotions that they're both feeling during this conversation. Now, this continues until we reach an impasse, a point in the story where they just simply can't go any further with just words, and one of them's got to go. Until Hokazono delivers this panel, setting up the opposing sides with Samura and Uruha staring at each other almost. Finally, leading into what I believe is the best page of the chapter, the face-off. Samura and Uruha walk outside to face off for their final duel. Now, Hokazono composed this panel in a way that not only shows the conflict, but also the divide with a pillar standing between them at the top panels here, but it's also shown tightly boxed shots of them until they eventually clash. They are both boxed in. There is no escape for these two. They only have one way to go, and that is towards each other. And it's an important detail that I noticed was the unbridled respect that Samura has for Uruha here, because in this panel here that sets up the conflict, as I mentioned before, Samura actually switches the swords from his enchanted blade to a regular sword, just showing that unbridled respect. I mean, after all, these guys trained together, they were masters of a sword style together, and as the cut and blow lands, a single leaf falls from a tree. The way Hokazono, the way he delivers these panels, it's nothing short of just sublime. It's like genuinely watching a storyboard just unfold in real time, as I mentioned before. You can tell that Hokazono was a cinema buff, the way he presents these panels, like the choreography, the perspective that you get from these, the way everything is laid out, it's magnificent. But Uruha finally falls, and Samura switches back to the enchanted blade to deliver the killing blow to Uruha. And as all of this happens, Chihiro is called to the battlefield by Hakuri, who seems to be on his deathbed. By the way, I'm not too convinced for Hakuri's health and safety right now, the way he's going with the storehouse ability. But Chihiro, he witnesses the final moments of Uruha here. He looks absolutely distraught, with Samura telling him, "You're drenched in the stench of blood, Chihiro." Now, what Samura says here sticks with me a little bit, because right now Chihiro is drenched in blood, and he's been shown to be perceived as a monster by those around him, as what was shown with his Hirohiko fight here. Hirohiko's basically goal there was to break Chihiro's mental throughout their fight, and that's kind of what's happening. Hirohiko probably break his mental, and now Samura will probably just break his body, and it makes me wonder if Samura will also perceive Chihiro as the same evil that he seeks to eliminate. I mean, after all, Chihiro wields Enten and the enchanted sword. Like, that's an enchanted sword, something that Samura wants to rid the world of. Now, if my theory about him being involved in Kunoshiki's death is true, then I'm not so sure that he wouldn't stop himself from trying to harm or kill Chihiro in a way to, get him off the picture. But all I know right now is Chihiro is in serious trouble. For the first time in the series, he's facing a master enchanted blade user, and I think that's a really big problem. Anyways, that's everything from me. If you haven't already, please be sure to like and subscribe, as it always does truly, truly help me out. If you're feeling super generous, consider supporting me on Patreon, as again, it helps bring the quality of these videos up a tenfold. Shout out to all of the Patreon subscribers already, and also to the members on the YouTube channel. Also, if you're watching this video tomorrow, I'm going to be live on this same channel to review the Chainsaw Man chapter. Going to be playing a little bit of Diablo just beforehand, and then we'll be reviewing the Chainsaw Man chapter before that video comes out. And then also on Wednesday, I will be officially live reading Tokyo Ghoul for the first ever time, so make sure to tune in for that. We've got lots of content planned on the channel soon. But anyways, that's everything from me. Much fucking love. Big fucking kisses. Peace.